And welcome back, and we're moving now into our second segment for the morning. Now, this conversation is about the posthumous pardon of Nora Parham. There are so many events that took place in Belize's history that curb the way we live. This, of course, is one of them. Now, in to talk to us about it, we've got the son of Nora Parham, Harry Parham. Sir, good morning. He's on Zoom with us today.
Good morning.
Good
How
morning.
are you?
Good morning.
Yeah.
Ah, there you go. We could hear you. We could actually see you too. Nice to see you, sir. This story, I'm trying to decipher how to segue with it or how to segment it. It's a very touching one. And I'd like to start by you telling us a little about your mom. Who was she? What type of person was she?
Okay. Well, my mom was born in Toledo. She was the daughter of Alexander Williams and Amelia Williams. And when she was about 15 years old, she got married to my father. And we left PG and went to Cayo. When I say we, I'm talking about my mom, my father, and myself, the only ones in the family at that time. And we lived there. I was about 1 year old. 1 year old when we left and went to Cayo. And there he lived for a while until they got separated. And during that time, she had 3 other children, James, Jerry, Ken. And during that time, we were still very small. They got separated, and my mother left and went to put a border back to him. And when she was, it was there that she was single, raising 4 children. And during that time, as I could recollect, she was very beautiful. She was kind. She was loving to us. But I must say that she was strict as a mother. She wanted everything to be perfect for her. Yeah. And from that time, she was trying to get jobs here and there, doing some of her own private job at home.
Yeah.
To take care of herself and the children. And it was during that period of time that she got hitched up in a common law union with Belize ketchup truck.
Yeah. So she was trying to make it on her own at first before she got into the relationship.
Yes.
Now, go ahead, Harry.
Yes, and life was so very good for her at that time because the relationship was not a smooth one.
Yeah.
They had a very rough time because Trump was a man that used to like drinking, and he not only liked to drink, but he was a very jealous person. And it created a lot of problems for her. They fought a lot, and the situation that where they both lived together in for after several years.
Yeah.
Separating and making up back again.
Yeah.
And,
Harry, you were old enough to understand what was going on? You were what age when you started to realize that the domestic violence was taking place?
I was about 7 or 8 years old.
And you had to step in a few times to try to help. Tell us about that.
Okay, whenever Trump would come in, intoxicated, and they start fighting, I was the one that had to leave home during the night, sometimes up to 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, to go to the police station to get help to get Trump out of the home.
Mm-hmm. That must have been a really scary situation for you. The abuse continued, and of course, we all have heard the story as told by different historians in the country. But for you, what do you recall from that night?
Okay, well, being there, I knew the situation. I knew what kind of pain she was going through, and it was difficult. And I must say that I was kind of disappointed in terms of whatever help was given to her at that time was just to get Trump out of the house. And after that, it happened very often again that the situation repeats itself.
Yeah.
And there was seemingly no end to it.
Mm. So when the night that Mr. Trapp caught on fire, where were you?
Okay, at that time, the four brothers in the first union with my father, Aaron, were living in Punta Gorda with our uncle who had taken us in to raise us.
Okay.
The other children, three of the other children were in San Ignacio with our granduncle Samuel Williams, who were raising them, and the third one of the second four was in the United States with families that were raising him.
So you weren't with your mother when it took place. How did you get the news that she'd been arrested?
Because message got to us, to my uncle in Punta Gorda, and he was the one that brought us up to Belize City when the case was going on. Not when the case was going on, I'm sorry. At the time when they were getting ready for execution.
How old were you then, and what was the first story that was communicated to your uncle and you after the incident?
Okay, I was 15 years old.
Oh, yeah.
At that time, and the message that got to us was that Nora had committed murder. She was convicted and was sentenced to death by hanging.
And what goes through your 15? You are fully able of comprehending the history of the abuse and the type of life that she was living. What went through your mind?
Well, I was thinking, what is going on here? Because I couldn't imagine my mother would have committed any kind of offense, particularly the one that they accused her of.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you'd seen the abuse yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So much abuse. But even though she was being abused, I still did not believe that even because of that she could commit big crime that she was
Accused of.
charged with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I guess we really have to put into perspective for viewers the time of this. You know, this is a different time for communication. So the message gets down to PG where you're living with some of your siblings that your mother has been sentenced to death.
Yes.
And you then make a trip. You came up to Belize City for the execution, right?
Yes, we came up to Belize City by Heritage because there was no road communication.
Yeah. Did you get to see her before?
Before the day of the hanging?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. The day before, they allowed us to go in to see her. As a matter of fact, they did not get all of us in at the same time. But I remember that they escorted me in to talk to her.
What did you and your mom spoke about that day?
Well, you know, she cried and I cried, and she told me that in spite of what is happening here, she told me that I am the one who must take care of my little brother. You know, and the conversation was very short, not very much. Was set apart from that.
Yeah.
But she did advise me how to live, and that we must live loving with each other, and I must look after my little brother.
Yeah. I can't imagine, you know, what it was like to be together with your family, knowing that your mother was being executed at that time. How much do you remember, and what were you and your brothers doing at that time?
Okay, we were living in Fiji, and it was until a good few years, I would say maybe 10 years or more afterwards, that we were able to get together as brothers, visiting each other, and you know, getting to know each other.
Yeah.
Once more.
Harry, over the years, you know, as time progressed and society evolved, where we could recognize that things like domestic violence was in fact wrong. At one point, it was far more acceptable. And you have some really interesting insights. Like, one, you had heard the real story of what actually took place that night. And you heard when the lie was spun to make it seem deliberate. Tell us more about that.
Okay. When I read the statement that was given in court, and well, knowing my mother, I believed her statement, and I believed that she was innocent as she claimed. And looking at it, the way the case was heard and conducted, you know, I recognized that there was a distinct effort to convict her of murder. She was because when we look at the jury were all male jury, and at that time in colonial days, any crime against the crown, which the police officers would represent, you know, was a very serious offense. And listening to the statements that were given, and given some of the comments that I've heard, you know, the 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 statements were geared particularly to find her guilty.
Yeah.
And
So,
the way the justice was carried out,
yeah.
it was so swift. She was not even given a chance to make an appeal.
Yeah.
And we had an interview with the ex-mayor of Orange, Ms. Benita, and she told us that she was by the bedside of Trump when he was giving the police a statement concerning the issue, and he told the police that Nora was not to blame. He was the one that caught himself fire because he was doused with gasoline before he entered into the toilet. And while he was there, he took out a cigarette and lit it. And it was then that he caught
On fire.
himself fire.
Yeah.
And like my mother said in the statement, she heard the noise outside, and when she went out to see what was happening, she saw him on fire. She tried to help, but she was unable to help him. And she took off from there, went to the police station, ran to the police station to get help.
Yeah.
And the statement given by the police who was taking statement from Trump at the time, the statement given by him, she said, was changed. And the statement given was that she went to the latrine, threw the gas on him, and locked the door from outside.
Yeah.
And she told the court that that was not true, that statement was false.
Yeah.
And even though she said that she mentioned it several times, before and during the trial, she said that when she rebutted the statement given by the police, the magistrate cautioned her about well, not only caution, but what happened is they charged her with contempt of court.
Wow.
For challenging what was being said. Yeah. It was unfortunately a very different time. But I want us to come forward because I want to move into the point in time in your life. You witnessed the abuse, you saw your mother's statement, you knew your mother's character, and so from 15 forward, you knew that it wasn't something she was done. Her life was taken as a result of it. When the conversation publicly started to change, that the society recognized that what you knew all along, that what happened to your mother was wrong, what was that like for you, Harry?
Well, it was, I would say it was painful whenever we talk about it, whenever the conversation come up, and it wasn't very pleasant. We would have preferred not to talk about it because at that time we did not see how it was possible, what was possible for us to retract the verdict that was given. During that time, we were also thinking that maybe there was some possibility later on to get her exonerated.
Yeah.
And that was when we started asking questions. We were trying to find people who knew anything about the case, and that's when we came up to Benita from Orange Walk. And so this was all in an effort to see how and if it was possible and how we could go about getting exoneration.
And that's key for you, because the posthumous pardon is only part of it. What you wanted was for her to be exonerated. And that's what happened.
Yes, that's what happened.
Yeah.
And you know, it probably took this long because we recognized that we did not have the means to take this thing back to court, because we would have had to take an appeal to the Supreme Court to reopen the case, and we did not have the resources to get this. And even some of the lawyers we talked to mentioned that it would not have been an easy thing to do, because much of anybody who knew anything about the case had already died.
Yeah,
and
so much time had passed.
So old, and probably not even where we could make contact with them.
So we're looking at the ceremony now, but I want to ask you about a different moment. There's that moment at the House meeting in May when Honorable Dolores Baldaramas Garcia gets up and officially make the motion for the pardon and exoneration. And you and all your brothers are there in the gallery, and the entire room gets on their feet, and you hug your brothers and their tears flowing. Tell us about that moment, Harry. This is what you have been working towards, hoping for, wishing for. What was it like to actually hear it being read in the House?
Okay, when the minister contacted us, we were excited about it, because we realized that now something will be done about the case, to bring it up back, to revive it, and we hope that whatever comes out of it would be, if not an exoneration, at least a first step in that direction to get her exonerated. And after listening to her, I must say that we are very, very grateful to her, very happy with her to have decided to take this up.
Yeah. And
when she told us what she wanted to do, we mentioned to her that you know, it's not a posthumous pardon that we are looking for, because a posthumous pardon would imply that she was guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wanted was exoneration.
Yeah.
And she understood that.
So fast forward to today. What's the feel like of the family? What are you and your brothers talking about at this point, and what's the feel like right now?
Well, we feel all excited about it, and you know, we felt like a heavy weight was lifted off of us, and we are happy because now we recognize that the truth actually came out. Our children and grandchildren and the rest of the family now know what actually happened, and we hope that the general public will see it in the same light, and will have a different mindset, a mindset that, you know, a mindset that is not negative like what used to come out before. You know, because everybody was, when they refer to it, you know, they talk about yesterday, that woman that was hanged for the murder of a policeman. Now
and you have said, sorry, yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just don't want us to miss the point. You have said, and I really want us to take the opportunity to say it, that you don't want this to just be about your mother, but you would want to see that moving forward, legislation is put in place to properly protect future victims. Have you had that conversation with the government representatives you've spoken with?
Sorry, I'm not hearing you well.
You said that you hope that this is not just something for your mother, that you want to see moving forward, that abuse victims have better protection in the law.
Yes, yes, very much. Because when I look at situations like he was going through, it fills my heart. And I also recognize that many of these victims of domestic violence, they don't want to go to the police, because whenever they go to the police to make a report, they believe that it is taken too lightly, that the police do not believe them, the police do not want to deal with the case, and sometimes they, whenever they go and make a report, either to the police or human development, they sometimes were even they were looked upon as not the victim, but also as if they were to blame for what happened.
Yeah.
And what we would like to see is that in every district, like they have in Belize City, in the Mopana, in Tayo, where some place where these people could go to bring their kids to make their complaints, and that they would be listened to seriously. Each case would be taken seriously, and they would be dealt with compassionately, because these people are going through a lot of pain, and they don't know how to deal with the situation. They don't know where to go, and if there is anything that they need to do in terms of getting out of the situation, they don't know how to do it. And if we get into a similar situation like my mother got into, they need a place where they could go and probably even get legal help.
Yeah. All right.
Because many of these victims are too poor to afford legal help.
Well, we do hope, and that's, that's really going full circle in looking at what happened to you, your family, your mother, the great milestone in being able to get that exoneration that you knew she rightly deserved, and then paying it forward, pushing and hoping for future victims to be able to have a safe space that they can run to if they end up in a situation that gets dangerous for their life. Harry, this is a very short conversation. There's so much more we could dive into, but we wanted to hear from you personally, just what this means for you. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right.
And we're about to take a break. When we come back, it's going to be for a new album release from Punta rap artist. His name is Ders McVeigh. We'll meet him when we come back. Stay with us.